Do you love TV shows? We do too. Hello everyone, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Anna, and we're the hosts of We Judge a Show by Its Pilot, a podcast hosted by us, a married couple with an endless love for TV.
Whether you're searching for a new favorite series or ready to revisit an old classic, we're here to guide you through an infinite world of TV shows.
Each episode, we watch and discuss the pilot for shows, while also sharing personal stories that parallel the storyline.
So if you're tired of endlessly scrolling and not sure what to watch next, tune in and let us do the searching for you.
We Judge a Show by Its Pilot. New episodes every Tuesday and Friday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Your new favorite show is just one click away. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our pod.
Hi, it's been a while.
It's been a minute. No, we recorded 4 Seasons earlier today. We had made plans since 4 Seasons was our 100th episode. We had plans to make a cocktail and have a spring summer drink to celebrate our 100th episode. But
1 year anniversary.
1 year anniversary, but it was a little too early in the day. It was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it wasn't like a Saturday or anything. Right. So we had stuff to do. So we decided to wait until we were recording our 101st episode, still celebrating our 1 year anniversary. Yeah. And so I decided to make us some blackberry whiskey sours.
Yeah, it's delish.
And they are, I have to say, they're very good.
They are really good.
I've just figured out how to make lemonade from scratch, and not very difficult. Lemon juice, sugar, and water.
There you go.
But yeah, so we just decided to drink for this one. We're still celebrating our 1 year anniversary, so yeah, we are continuing June with our summer blockbusters, and today we are doing a movie that you and I are both very familiar with.
Oh yeah.
The TV show, not as much.
I watched it initially, but dropped off of it probably fairly quickly.
I watched episodes here and there, but I never really knew what was going on. It was like when I would watch Charmed, and I would just watch it just to watch it. We're talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, or as a lot of people know it as, just Buffy. So this was a fun little film that came out in the early 90s, and it got adapted into a TV show a little later in the 90s, and it kind of just became its own little cult classic. There's an entire generation of people that are devout whatever to I'm a little buzzed right now.
Oh my god, already?
Yeah.
Were you tasting?
I don't ever really drink. Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm just slightly buzzed.
Okay.
But yeah, just to show that, I mean, like, it has a very devoted fan base, and people took to it, and we're going to talk about what we thought about it, what we thought about the movie, our history with the movie. We're going to talk about all that. Since 4 Seasons was a really long episode, it ended up being an hour and 15 minutes. We're going to try and make this one a little shorter. We went on a lot of tangents on the last episode. We got excited over our 100th, so we just kept chatting. But so we're going to cut to it right now. We're just going to go right ahead and go on to the episode, series, and movie information.
All right, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, welcome to the Hellmouth. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was an American supernatural drama that premiered on the WB on March 10th, 1997, and ended on May 20th, 2003. The series ran for 7 seasons and a total of 144 episodes. Buffy was created by Joss Whedon, who also wrote the pilot, and it was directed by Charles Martin Smith. Smith directed many films and TV episodes, but is probably best known for playing Toad in American Graffiti. Buffy the TV series is based on the 1992 horror comedy film of the same name. The movie was also written by Whedon and was directed by Fran Rubel Kuzui. The film starred Christy Swanson as the titular character of Buffy, and the film also stars Donald Sutherland, Luke Perry, Rutger Hauer, Paul Rueben, Candy Clark, and Stephen Root. The film is probably best known for having a who's who of young actors who appeared in this film before achieving mainstream success, including Hilary Swank, David Arquette, Randall Battenkoff, Andrew Lowry, Sasha Jensen, Natasha Gregson Wagner, and Thomas Jane. Ben Affleck appears in an uncredited role as a basketball player for a rival school. Other uncredited cameos include Ricky Lake, Seth Green, and Alexis Arquette. Batkenkoff Lowry and Affleck would all later appear together in School Ties, and that was released later the same year. Affleck and Jensen would appear in another cult classic, Dazed and Confused, the following year. The film was a box office bomb and received mostly negative reviews. Whedon's original script was much darker and less comedic and had more grounded, story-driven script, while the finished product was more of a self-aware comedy with over-the-top stunts, wacky sound effects, and quirky humor. Thanks to video rentals, the film became one of the biggest cult classics of the 90s. Fans praised the film for its surreal humor, killer soundtrack, and amazing cast. When Whedon was given the opportunity to create a TV show version of Buffy, he managed to have complete creative control as the showrunner and executive producer. He decided to make the show more like his original script, which leaned more into the drama and supernatural horror, but mixed it with grounded, likable characters and sharp, witty humor. The film and the series have very similar overall plots. Both center around a young teenage girl named Buffy, who comes from a long line of slayers who were chosen by fate to hunt and kill vampires as well as other supernatural creatures. The series stars Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy, Nicholas Brendon as Xander Harris, a sarcastic yet charming student at Sunnydale, Alyson Hannigan as Willow Rosenberg, a brilliant but awkward student who befriends Buffy. Charisma Carpenter as Cordelia Chase, a popular girl who befriends Buffy, but shows to be very snobby and mean towards Willow. Anthony Stewart Head as Rupert Giles, the school's librarian and a watcher, someone who trains and protects slayers. David Boreanaz as Angel, a mysterious young man who is aware that Buffy is a slayer. Christine Sutherland as Joyce, Buffy's mother. Mark Metcalf as the Master, a vampire who serves as season's one primary antagonist. And the pilot also has guest stars that include Eric Balfour as Jesse, Xander and Willow's friend, Julie Benz as Darla, and Ken Lerner as Principal Flutie, brother to Michael Lerner and father of Sam Lerner. The series has received critical acclaim and is considered to be one of the best TV shows of its time. You can currently watch the film on Prime Video, and the entire series is on Hulu.
Yeah, so we watched the movie. What we did with all the shows this month, we watched the movie, then we watched the pilot. So what was your... Obviously, we've seen the movie before. We both... I didn't watch it in theaters, but I definitely watched it when it came out on video. It was definitely a video rental for us. When did you first watch the movie?
Definitely in the heyday when it came out, because that was Luke Perry 90210 time, and of course, you know, everyone was crushing on Luke Perry and, you know, Dylan. Jason Priestley and, you know, 90210. So the fact that he was moving into film was kind of, I think, like his first big thing out of 90210. So 92 definitely probably went with a couple of sorority sisters. I was still living in the dorm at that time, so we were probably like girls' night or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely watched it on video rental probably when it came out. It was definitely like my sister rented it because she would have been like in middle school when that came out. Yeah. And she rented it, and she wasn't really into like, I mean, I would hardly count this as like a horror movie.
Oh, no.
But, I mean, for Sarah, it probably was. For me and my dad thought it was hilarious. Like, my dad, this was like totally our humor, and it was the first time I heard terms like, that's so 5 minutes ago, or, you know, other kind of slang terms that I'd never heard before. And when I heard that was so 5 minutes ago, I'm like, I'm going to say that for the rest of my life. I was like, that is so funny. Like, that is such a dumb thing to say, but it's so funny.
Yeah.
I immediately loved it. I mean, like, I already loved scary stuff. I already loved vampire stuff. We were talking about this, I think, after we watched the movie, and we were probably like in the hot tub, or we were just sitting talking about something. And this may have been my first experience with like a vampire movie, because you have to remember how old I was when this came out. I was pretty young, and I hadn't really gotten into horror movies yet. So it was like I was kind of had like my gateway horrors. I had like horror, like comedies and stuff like that. I was aware of what vampires were. I'd probably seen like Monster Squad, which had like Dracula in it, and there were probably like cartoons that had vampires and stuff. But from my memory, this is the first time that I like learned about like stake through the heart and sunlight will kill them and crosses and holy water. You have to invite them in. I learned all the lore of vampires.
I think it's kind of funny though, thinking back, because I was really trying to put myself when I was watching this and why I was going, because I was going because of Luke Perry.
Yeah.
I mean, but the fact that it was panned and kind of dissed as a movie is funny to me, because I'm like, it's called Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
Like, did someone think this was going to be a very serious, intense, like, vampire movie?
Yeah.
I did not. So I think that's kind of what I've always thought it was funny, because I don't remember hating it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think in the 90s, especially in the 90s, there's a documentary called In Search of Darkness, where it was originally like an in-depth look at like 80s horror, but now they have a version of it where they dig into 90s horror. And the thing with 90s horror in general, even if it's a comedy like this one was, horror started getting smarter in the 90s, and it started getting more like self-aware, like this one was, like Scream, like a lot of others. Like Scream wasn't the first horror comedy to kind of be aware that it's a movie and kind of make like the meta jokes and stuff. But I think this just kind of went over people's heads when it first came out, and they thought maybe it was like advertised as being a little bit more serious, but then realizing, going in and be like, oh, this is like a comedy. However, it's called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She's wearing like a workout uniform. She's wearing like workout clothes on the cover, holding a stake with Luke Perry like behind her. Like, it looks like a teen movie about vampires, about a vampire killer who's like it's like Valley Girl meets Interview with the Vampire. It's like or Dracula. It's really funny how so many movies that got panned when they first came out just become so beloved once like they get to a general audience. Like movies like Dazed and Confused, which, I mean, it's not a horror movie, but completely bombed because it was an R-rated movie, and the people that wanted to go see it weren't 17. It's like the people that wanted to see it were like 13, 14, 15 years old, because that was like what they were into. And, you know, people from the 70s weren't watching it because it was just perceived as like a stoner comedy. But then when you watch it, it's like, no, this is like a coming of age, like dramedy type thing, and it has, you know, one of the best soundtracks ever. But we're not talking about Dazed and Confused. But yeah, it really is funny to just look back and watch these movies and be like, okay, I've seen way worse movies than this, and this got panned. Like, I understand not making money, but like to just completely bash it as if it's supposed to be like you said, it's called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like, what were you expecting it to be?
Yeah, I think that's, and like you said, the cover was pretty clear. Like, this is a comedy, a serious movie.
This was like the cover of 16 Candles, but with a stake. You know, it was just kind of like, it's really funny. But I love the movie. I love the cast. I love all of it. It's so wacky. It's so stupid, but it's so great. I love horror comedies that are aware that they're stupid. Like, I just love those types of movies. And yeah, this is one that like you could put on any day of the week and I'll sit down and watch it, just because it's such, I don't have to think. It's just such a fun movie, and you know, you don't have to take it seriously.
And I will just go and say, because of my 90210 love, is that I love, because that was about year 3 of 90210. And so I love how some of the actors from Buffy the Vampire Slayer had already either also been in 90210 and or then came on to 90210. Like David Arquette later played someone's boyfriend. Hilary Swank played a waitress at the Peach Pit, and I think she dated Steve. And then the other girl, not Hilary Swank, but the one I had you look up, that was like, her name was like Amanda Pacer or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
She had been on like the first season.
Yes.
So, you know, it's kind of like, you know, it kind of made you look at it. I mean, if you had known all of those things at the time, but looking back at it now, you know, Luke Perry had to have helped those people. Right. Like, Luke Perry was very close to the whole Arquette family.
Yeah,
like, and
I knew
so
that.
Because of this movie, I think. And so he had always helped them.
Yeah. Lex Starkett had a little cameo in it.
And, so it's kind of fun to see that, and to be like, oh, this is when they became friends. Like, this is their connection. And like you said, you know, the school ties and all of that as well.
Yeah, that was just kind of an era, like the early mid-90s. There was kind of this era with like, I guess you could call them indie films, but they were just kind of like these low-budget kind of teen films that had kind of the same people in it, like kind of like in the 80s, how they had the Brat Pack. There was kind of like the 90s version of the Brat Pack, but it was just a much bigger pool of people. And you kind of watch these movies from the early mid-90s and you're just like, it's like the same 10 people, but no complaints. It's great. But I mean, like, it's just funny that looking at the cast, I'm just like, yeah, they were all in School Ties together. They were all in Dazed Confused together. They were all in this movie together. They were all in My Boyfriend's Back. And it was just, kind of funny to watch that.
Christy Swanson was in like Dead Poets Society.
Oh, was she?
I think. I need to look that up. But I think she played the girl that Knox was crushing on. Or maybe it was another... No, she wasn't in Dead Poets Society. I think that's like another blonde actress that looks like her. But, she was in like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Simone. And then she was also in Flowers in the Attic.
That's what it was.
That movie.
With Chad Allen. And I was trying to remember Victoria Tennant. I was trying to remember.
I think I also know where I'm thinking of her from. She was at the end of Pretty in Pink.
She was Ducky's girl.
The Duckette at the end.
Yeah, that's right.
So she was in like a lot of little things like that. So you kind of knew her a little teeny bit, but this was kind of, I think, one of her big like breakout movies where she was holding the lead.
Well, I think the big draw to it was that it was Donald Sutherland, Rutger Hauer, and Paul Rueben, which kind of came out of nowhere because he had kind of disappeared for a while. And then he kind of popped up in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and he's like unrecognizable. If you didn't know that was Paul Rueben, I mean, you wouldn't have guessed that was Pee Wee Herman.
No.
Unless someone told you, then you're like, oh yeah, I can see it now. I remember my dad telling me that when he was like, it's Pee Wee Herman, and my, 9-year-old brain was just like, that doesn't look like him at all. Now it's like super obvious. I could tell.
Like, oh yeah.
But as a kid, I'm just like, I only knew Pee Wee Herman as Pee Wee Herman. I never see him in anything else. So yeah, I always thought that was funny. All right, so So we watched the movie, and I think we watched both of them in one night, yes. I believe.
Yeah.
What did you think of the pilot for the TV show?
I mean, I'm trying to like feel like I think I watched it because I had liked the movie at the time so much. Like I liked the movie. So when this came out as a series, I was like, okay, I'm going to watch it. And I also knew Sarah Michelle Gellar from being on All My Children.
Right.
And so I think this was her breaking from daytime into
this
TV
is right
show.
Before she did, I know what she did last summer.
Yeah, into evening, like prime time. Yeah, that's what I meant. From soap operas to prime time. So again, I was just wanting to see what she was going to do. Yeah. So, I mean, I liked it in the sense of it was totally stood on its own because I think Joss Whedon has said that he considers, although they're the same characters and the same sort of universe, that
the movie isn't canon.
The movie isn't canon to the TV show. I love when you know all the terminology.
Yeah.
So I did like that, knowing that, because I felt like it was different than the movie.
Yeah.
And it was separate. So I kind of had to adjust my thought to it.
Yeah.
And when we watched it, I felt that too, because I felt like it was kind of intense from the start.
Yeah.
So whereas like the movie was a little bit silly and fun and very like Clueless high school meets vampire world.
Yeah.
And
that's good. Yeah. That's a good comparison.
Yeah. So I kind of felt it was more dramatic and that's what was the purpose. That was the intent. So I can see that now. But I watched it when, I mean, for a while. I mean, I remember when the whole Angel, spinoff came out. Yeah. Again, I watched that. Excuse me. I watched that for a little bit, but I don't think I watched all of it till the end.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And did you watch all of it?
No, so it came out. So the show came out. I had to have been in middle school, and I should have been like the prime demo for it. And I knew a bunch of my peers that watched it and really liked it. And they were like, they would tell me by this point, by 97, I was well into horror movies and horror TV shows. And so I had friends that were like, I think you would really like it. It's really good. And I remember watching it and just like, this is long before streaming and DVR. And I kind of had to just start from whatever episode was on. Yeah. And I just remember like not really understanding what was going on. maybe I hadn't seen the movie enough times in my life. I just remembered bits and pieces of the movie, I think, maybe, and I just remember like not being into it at first, and then like maybe when I got into high school, they would start playing, it went into syndication, and it would play on like FX or something like that after school, and I would watch those episodes, but like I never knew what was going on. It was just like background noise, I think.
Yeah.
But I was excited to watch the TV show, to watch the pilot, because this was kind of, Sarah Michelle Gellar she wasn't Sarah Michelle Gellar yet. She wasn't like, she had done General Hospital?
All My Children.
All My Children, and she had done Swan's Crossing, which was like a teen soap.
Yeah.
With Shane McDermott, which I watched that because my sister. So there was a movie called Airborne, which is all about like rollerblading, which also has Seth Green in it and Jack Black. It's like one of his first movies when they were all really young. And Shane McDermott is the main role, and he got that role because he was on Swan's Crossing. He was the lead in Swan's Crossing. He was supposed to be like the next teen heartthrob, and then Sarah Michelle Gellar played like the love interest. And it was a teen soap. My sister watched it. I remember watching it with her because it made me feel like a teenager. And then I remember knowing who Sarah Michelle Gellar was when Buffy came out, and then right after that, I Know What You Did Last Summer came out.
Yeah.
And then she had her part in Scream 2, and then she kind of kept being and stuff. But I always liked her. I've always loved Alyson Hannigan.
Love her.
Charisma Carpenter. She was on Greek. I really liked her there, and she hosted a random true crime show that I watched the other day. It's older. I don't think it's around anymore.
I just remember Charisma Carpenter. Like, I thought that name was cool.
Same.
I don't know if that's like her actual legit name.
Yeah.
I didn't look that up, but I loved that name.
I remember seeing that name for the first time and being like, that's a name you'll remember.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if when you're auditioning
Charisma,
and stuff.
the alliteration.
Charisma Carpenter.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah. So when we watched the pilot, I really like it. It very much reminded me of like that era of TV, like the special effects and the music, and the music very much so, and the clothes and the slang and the sound effects.
Oh, the clothes, yeah.
Very 90s and very of its time. The mid to late 90s was such a weird time with like fashion and music and pop culture in general. Everything was just kind of like a mixed bag. And I really enjoyed the pilot. I would continue watching, although I wasn't like on the edge of my seat wanting to watch more. I would watch more if like you wanted to watch more. I'd be like, okay. I'll keep watching. Like, it didn't grab me, but I did enjoy it, if that makes any sense. Like, there are going to be a few shows this month where like I enjoyed it, but it didn't like grab me enough to want to watch it. And it's really difficult when a series is really long and there's 100 and something episodes. Like, TV just isn't that way anymore. So like, we're not dealing with shows that have 187 episodes. We're dealing with like 45, 50
3
episodes
seasons,
at
4
tops.
seasons.
I mean, I think Stranger Things is ending with like 45 episodes or something like that.
After 9 years.
So, I mean, it's just not how it is anymore. And with our podcast and with all the stuff we have to watch, I just find it really difficult to watch something. And I'm already kind of committed to like Melrose Place and Lost if I do want to continue watching.
Some of the anime, some of the adult animation that we...
And Death Note and Attack on Titan. But those are all short. I think we could finish those.
Yeah.
But like... this would be like a show that I would just kind of, I know that there's no end I know that there's no like light at the end of the tunnel. We're just going to kind of casually watch this forever. Like, that's kind of how I would see it. But I didn't dislike it. I really enjoyed it. It was, it was a little cheesy. It was a little corny, but so was the movie. So, I mean, I can't really hate on that. So how did you like it how did you like the show compared to the movie? Since you had never really... Since you kind of watched the show casually, but you've seen the movie a bunch of times.
Yeah. I will say I will stick with the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I love that movie. I think it's so silly and fun. And I was quoting things from it.
Oh, yeah.
And, it has like a little soft spot in my heart.
Yeah.
And that's why when, you were in the intro about it being panned and whatnot, I'm like, God, again,
you just
like,
don't know
exactly.
I'm
like, Roger, was it Siskel and Ebert, you know, like the movie critics or whoever was giving it some critiques. It's like, can you just go in with like a truly open mind? I mean, I know they supposedly do, but I just am like, again, it was called Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It was supposed to be silly, and I guess maybe it wasn't silly enough in their eyes, I guess. I don't know. But again, I find them separate. Like I could continue watching it, except for the fact that we have like 5 billion other shows that we need to watch. So there wasn't anything right now that kept me from going, oh my God, like say something like Attack on Titan, the way that ended. And I was like looking at you with my mouth ajar. I was like, okay, we need to put on episode 2 like right now. This, I was like, okay, it was fine.
And it ended on a cliffhanger. It ended on a to be continued. And I was like, well, she's gonna be fine because it's episode 1. So like, this guy's not gonna probably make it. So I mean, like, it was enjoyable. But if you're gonna ask me, I'm gonna choose the movie. Yeah. It's so much more nostalgic for me. It has such a special place in my heart for that era of movies where, you kind of, I mean, back then you had the trailer that you maybe saw a few times on TV, and then like a year would go by, and then if you didn't see it in theaters, like a year would go by, and you would just see it at the video store, and you really were just kind of taking a chance. You really just had no idea what this movie, I mean, now we know everything about a movie before we go see it. Right. We can go on Wikipedia and read the whole plot if we want to before we go see a movie, but back then it was like you really were like, you kind of went based off of the trailer or your memory of it, or if you liked the cover. I mean, like that.
Or people that you knew were in it, like me.
Yeah. Right. And I was too young to really know who anyone was in that movie, but I'll always choose the movie. But I did like how the series was leaned more into the horror aspect of it. I did like that. I did like that it was a little bit darker, it wasn't as like bright and colorful, because the early 90s was very bright, very colorful, and then kind of in the mid to late 90s it kind of went a little bit more muted colors, and everyone was just wearing like jeans and like plain t-shirts. It was very muted, I guess, compared to the 80s and early 90s, where it was all bright neon and biker shorts and all of that lycra. And but I know that as the show continues, more people are added. I know Seth Green joins the show, which is funny because he had a cameo as one of the vampires in the movie. So I would, if I had the time. If we didn't have a podcast, I would definitely keep watching the series, just because we just have so much other things to watch on top of the things that we watch that we don't do a podcast on, that we just watch on our own, the shows that we like. But I mean, it's on Hulu. Yeah, it's on Hulu. I mean, look, we're going to go over the plot summary and all, but like, I mean, you don't have to take our word for it. Go and watch the first episode. If you're not into it by then, I mean, like, I doubt you're going to be into it after that, because like I said, it ends on a cliffhanger. Yeah. But I would definitely recommend giving it a try. And if you have Prime, watch the movie, because it is a whole lot of fun.
I love it. I can't even explain. Like, I just think it's fun, and I just love looking back at that time and kind of the evolution of all the actors that are in it. So
I mean, like, when I went through the whole cast list, when I was typing it all out, I was just like, I wasn't fully aware of how many people were in it kind of before they were famous, or right as they were kind of breaking out. I mean, it's always funny seeing Ben Affleck. It's always funny seeing like Alexis Arquette as like the vampire DJ, and that's Alexis Arquette. That couldn't be anyone other than Alexis Arquette. Ricky Lake as the cocktail waitress at the bar. Yeah, you're just like, oh well, that's so random.
I was gonna say random.
Random. Yeah. I had another question, but I think we've talked about that before. Okay. So we can just go ahead and get into the pilot summary, because it is getting hot in this room right now, and I'm getting a little sweaty. All right, so because the movie and the TV and the pilot were so different, I'm not going to give too much away for the movie, just because if you haven't seen the movie, you need to go watch the movie. Yeah. I'm going to give you like the basic plot, and I mean, obviously, like every episode, we have spoilers, but all right, so In the film, Buffy is a typical early 90s Valley girl. The kind of whole Valley girl stereotype was much more prominent in the 80s and early 90s. And then as we continued into the 90s, that kind of stereotype kind of faded away. But in the film, she's a very typical early 90s Valley girl. She's the head cheerleader. She's dating the captain of the basketball team. She frequently spends her time at the mall with her friends. But she is plagued by dreams of the same woman who looks just like her throughout different time periods, battling vampires. Buffy meets Merrick, played by Donald Sutherland, who tells her that she is a slayer, someone who is chosen by fate to hunt and kill vampires, much like in the pilot. Buffy initially rejects this claim, but eventually believes him when Merrick describes the dreams she's been having. Since Buffy has told no one about these dreams, she believes him. Despite her indifference, she realizes she has special abilities, including heightened agility, senses, and endurance. She begins training with Merrick to prepare to battle against Lothos, played by Rutger Hauer, the Hitcher, one of the best thrillers of all time.
I know.
He's the vampire in all of Buffy's dreams. He's the antagonist for the movie. Along the way, Buffy meets Pike, played by Luke Perry, whose best friend Benny, David Arquette, was turned into a vampire while they were drunk. Benny is abducted by Amelin, who I believe that's Paul Rueben.
Yes.
Lothos' right-hand man while Pike is passed out, and Pike is saved by Merrick. Pike eventually teams up with Buffy, and the two fight against a horde of vampires at the senior dance, including Lothos. She defeats Lothos. The students are safe. Pike and Buffy ride off on his motorcycle. That's essentially the movie. I mean, in a nutshell, go and watch it. I don't think it's like 90 minutes or something like that. Like, it's a lot of fun. I think the only reason why I didn't go into a detailed one is they're just so different. I didn't see the point in going to a detailed plot summary for that. Yeah. But in the series, so we kind of get to skip the whole, I didn't know I was a Slayer. Buffy is already an established Slayer.
Yeah.
She's actually trying to like run away from it. So there is a reference in the pilot to her burning down the gym of her old school because it was invaded by vampires, which I'm assuming, since it's not canon, is more of like a nod to the original movie. She knows who she is, she knows her destiny, and after she's kicked out of several schools for reckless behavior, now has to move with her mom to Sunnydale, and she has to start a new school, and she's decided to retire from slaying and she looks great, she's always slaying, but slaying vampires. She wants to retire from slaying vampires and wants to lead a normal life. Unbeknownst to Buffy, Sunnydale is a hot spot for supernatural occurrences. In the opening scene, we see Darla, that's Julie Benz. Have you ever seen Jawbreaker? I almost said Heartbreaker. Jawbreaker, great movie.
Oh, yeah.
And a guy named Chris break into Sunnydale High School late at night. Chris insists on taking her there for some fun and excitement. Darla seems hesitant and a bit scared, thinking she keeps hearing something. Chris checks to see, and no one is there. Plot twist, Darla isn't scared. She's a vampire. It was all a trap, and she kills Chris.
Oh, yeah.
On Buffy's first day at Sunnydale, the progressive Principal Flutie rips up her transcript explaining why she was kicked out of her previous school, saying this is her second chance and will not be judged for her previous mistakes. Buffy admits she was kicked out of her school for burning down the gym. She nearly lets it slip that she was fighting off vampires, but quickly recovers and saying she saved the students from asbestos, which was funny. Buffy meets Cordelia Chase, that's Charisma Carpenter. Even then, she has a cool name in the TV show. In her first class, Cordelia is a popular girl who invites Buffy into her little clique. Buffy is relieved to make a friend, but is disappointed when she sees Cordelia being mean to Willow while making fun of her clothes, which was not nice. In the girls' locker room, one of the students finds Chris's dead body in one of the lockers. Buffy goes to the school's library to get some textbook and meets Giles, the school's mysterious librarian. He recognizes Buffy as the Slayer and offers her a book entitled Vampire. Buffy becomes uncomfortable and leaves the library. Buffy approaches Willow at lunch, and she tells Willow that she is way behind and was told by several students that she is the smartest kid in school. Willow agrees to help her, and that's when Xander and Jesse, Willow's friends, join them. Xander seems smitten with Buffy and turns into an awkward, bumbling mess in front of her. Cordelia approaches the group and informs them that gym class is canceled due to the dead body found in the locker room.
Gee, you think?
I can't believe, you think school would be canceled?
I was going to say, aren't the cops in the corner there?
You're pretty sure the whole school is a crime scene. Pretty sure everyone's got to vacate, but, it's a TV show.
It's a TV show.
Buffy sneaks into the locker room where the dead body's still there. There's no tape.
Right,
there's no cops. There's no coroner.
Nothing.
He's just covered by a blanket or whatever. She investigates the body and sees that there's 2 bite marks. Yeah, the bite mark on his neck, classic vampire bite marks on the neck. Buffy returns to the library and confronts Giles, who informs her that he is her watcher, someone who is sworn to train and protect Slayers. Buffy refuses to accept her calling as a Slayer and just wants to lead a normal life. Buffy and Giles exit the library, and we see that Xander had overheard the entire conversation. Buffy decides to go to the Bronze, a popular teen hangout spot. When we were watching the pilot, I was thinking of all of like the teen hangout names in TV shows. Peach Pit, the Max from Saved by the Bell.
Yeah.
What was it? Chubby's was Boy Meets World.
Bronze.
I was thinking, the Bronze. On her way, she runs into a very mysterious guy named Angel, who's so brooding, and he just likes to squint and look and stare. He's that guy. He seems to know who she is. He informs her that Sunnydale is home to a Hellmouth that is about to open, and the harvest is coming. He gives her a Silver Cross pendant before disappearing. At the Bronze, Buffy meets up with Willow. Willow admits she's never really had a boyfriend and isn't great at talking to guys. Buffy encourages her to seize the moment since life is short. Buffy runs into Giles, and he encourages her to hone in on her skills, the main one being the ability to sense vampires. Using her extensive knowledge on fashion, she spots a male vampire wearing dated clothes from the 70s. She then realizes the vampire is talking to Willow, who took Buffy's advice to seize the moment. While Buffy looks for Willow, we see Jesse is talking to Darla. So everything's kind of connecting, and we're kind of getting set up for the climactic ending of the episode. Meanwhile, under the streets of Sunnydale, the Master is woken up by lesser vampires from a long sleep to prepare for the harvest. He sends Luke to fetch him young blood. The male vampire brings Willow to a cemetery and traps her inside of a crypt. They are soon joined by Darla and a weak Jesse who has just been bitten. Back at the Bronze, Buffy runs into Xander, and the two go looking for their friends. Despite the conversation he overheard in the library, Xander doesn't believe in vampires, but still wants to find his friends. Xander and Buffy eventually arrive at the crypt, and she slays the male vampire. As Darla and Buffy begin to fight, Xander helps Jesse and Willow escape the crypt. Luke arrives and throws Buffy into a wall. A fight ensues, and Darla flees the crypt. Luke throws Buffy into a stone coffin and moves in to bite her. To be continued.
To be continued.
I gotta say, I mean, like, pretty good cliffhanger.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we know that it's not going to be bad or anything because the series continues.
It's called Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Right.
If she dies and doesn't slay a vampire in the first episode,
or becomes a vampire, she's not going to slay herself.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, this was it's a fun. I don't want to say cute because I don't think it's a cute show, but I think it's very like charming in like the 90s sense of. It's very much of the era. The special effects when they change into vampires is very 90s.
Oh, yeah.
But I still think, I would argue that it still holds up. That it still holds up, like, special effects-wise, script-wise, acting-wise. I still feel like it holds up just like the movie does. I feel like they both hold up. I feel like they're both fun. I feel like if you liked the movie, I'm pretty sure you liked the TV show.
I mean, I don't hate it.
Right.
It just, I felt like they were separate. And,
right.
I mean, I would take each for what each is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so it's on Hulu. The movie is on Prime. I would definitely recommend, if you liked the show and never saw the movie, I would definitely recommend watching the movie and versa versa.
Versa versa.
All right, you think that wraps this one up?
Yeah.
All right, well, that wraps up this episode. Thanks for tuning in, and if you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on whichever platform you're listening to this podcast on. That way you'll be notified every time we publish a new episode. You can also follow us on Instagram at WeJudgePilotPod. We're also on Facebook. You can leave us a comment, suggest a show for us to watch, or leave some emojis in the comments. What you got?
I don't have too many. I have any of the vampires.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of those. A knife, the sun for Sunnydale. A fire, the school. A book, the skull and bones for the dead body in the locker. The bronze medal for the bronze. An angel. A tree for Willow. And the tombstones. All right, well, we are going to head out, but we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening.